That is awesome.
Hey, I actually love the dance lessons that you guys were doing. I mean,
The handshakes?
well, they were doing dance
dances,
lessons.
okay.
And Riyadh and Heather, that was good. The only thing I didn't like about that was the Rams hat. That was the only thing that I didn't like about that. So,
True.
Okay, let's get this out of the way. The Chargers, we lost bad.
Oh.
But that's why you need to pray for the Chargers, okay?
Now we've got to show you guys our handshake. Hold on.
I forgot about that.
Ready?
She just taught me this, by the way. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Too corny, too corny.
That's George's favorite move, so I had to put it in the handshake.
She loves to make me look good, I tell you that. Hey, man, it's been a while since we've seen you. Where you guys been all our lives? Right here. So we were excited that we had another date on the calendar, and we're excited tonight because we got some great tips to share with you. But you want to tell them what we did today, babe?
Oh, my gosh. I was trying to just enjoy this moment, but George, so we had to drop our daughter, 20-year-old daughter, off at the airport, and she's going to study abroad in London, so I dropped her off this morning, pulled myself together right now so I can be with you guys, so have some compassion on me if I'm stumbling up here tonight, okay?
Show a picture of our family.
Yes. I don't know if they have it
This
up.
is our lovely family.
Okay, this is our family. That's my lovely daughter that's going to London right now. She should land about 2 a.m. our time. This is my son. He lives in the Bay Area. And we are the Gregorys for anyone who haven't been with us tonight. Who has not, who is this their first time coming to a couple's night? Raise your hand. Wow.
All right.
Welcome. Yes, so we are the Gregorys. We've been married 27 years. This is my mother-in-law. We just became the primary caretakers of her. So life takes you on ups and downs. So we thought we were going to be empty nesters when we got the youngest one out, but we got a little more time with some more nesting.
There it is. Hey, if you guys want to connect with us, we got a slide here. People are always asking, hey, how can we connect with you guys offline? If you want to snap a picture of that or put it in your IG or whatever, you can use that. Hey, tonight we're talking about tips for tackling tough conversations. Now, we want you to raise your hand real quick. How many of you have ever had in your marriage or your relationship a tough conversation?
Be honest now.
Okay.
Okay.
Now that's cool. That's cool. But let's put your hands down. How many of you have never had a tough conversation? This couple right here, you guys have never had a tough conversation?
He says no. Oh, okay. He's like,
get
no.
It. He's like, yeah, I just say yes, ma'am.
Yes,
I get
yes,
it.
ma'am.
That's good. That's one of our tips, by the way. Yes, ma'am. Okay. But tonight's topic centers around 2 of our 5 purposes that we have for marriage around here at Saddleback. And those 2 purposes that we're going to tie our topic tonight to is relational intimacy and honor. Everybody say relational intimacy.
Relational intimacy.
And honor.
And honor.
Right? We always want to bridge those 2. In fact, we got 2 more pictures to show you guys what we've been working at during the off season.
Yeah.
Well, not off season.
Not off
during
season,
the season.
But we've been.
Tundra and I, we shot a curriculum for couples called The 5 Purposes for Marriage. It's going to be out right after Easter. So for all the couples who want to go through something together to talk about marriage, to get maybe your friends who don't even go to Saddleback, or maybe some of your friends who go to Saddleback, and get in a small group together and to go over the 5 purposes. We work really hard in this material. It's going to be out, guys, right after Easter. So look out for that. Yeah. But when we talk about the 5 purposes for marriage, 2 of those tonight, relational intimacy and honor, those things help with communication, because good communication helps bring together 3 things: unity, connection, and closeness, right? Unity, connection, and closeness, which is relational intimacy, right? And how we honor. But when couples avoid tough conversations, what they do is they work countercultural to these three things of closeness, connection, and unity. It goes in the opposite direction. In fact, it goes in a direction of division, disconnection, and isolation. And how many of you got married to be disconnected or isolated? Anybody?
No.
None of us get married. None of us want to say I do because we're disconnected or disjointed, right?
Yeah.
So listen to this. You cannot have intimacy. Here's a quote. You cannot have true intimacy without vulnerability and transparency, right? You can't have intimacy without vulnerability and transparency. When you have tough conversations, that's about being vulnerable. That's about being transparent. So tonight we want to give you a few tips that you can be confident when you have these tough conversations that you can do it the right way. Here's what the Word of God says about our communication as spouses one to another. In Ephesians chapter 4, verse 15, it says this. It says, "Instead, we speak the truth in love, growing in every way more and more like Christ, who is the head of his body, the church." So this one says that we speak the truth in what?
Love.
Love. We speak the truth in love, and in every way that we should be growing more and more like Christ. So even in our conversation of how we speak with each other, how we communicate with each other, even when we have to have tough conversations, we should do it by speaking the truth in love.
Yes, and speaking the truth, you have to speak the truth, but you have to do it in love. So what ways do couples try to avoid tough conversations? What are some ways that couples try to avoid having a tough conversation? You guys can just shout out. Not talking about it. What'd you say? Lie.
He said lie.
Lie.
Oh my God.
That's true. You're trying to avoid it.
Hey,
so
we got a class on that this Sunday. Show up after church, okay?
Yeah. Any more? Distract.
Somebody said run.
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 Yes, run. Isolate, right?
That's
Yeah, we try to keep away from those tough conversations. We stall, we procrastinate, right? We keep putting it off. We know we need to be having this conversation, but it just never seems to be the right time. Or how about the silent treatment, where we aren't really silent, we're slamming doors, stomping our feet. My favorite is when I'm putting the dishes away. The silverware really does some amazing talking if you just, you know what I'm saying? It's just like.
I hate those silverware. When we first got married, Tandra used to put me in what I call the doghouse. Any guys know what I'm talking about? Then that song came out, "Who Let the Dogs Out?" And I'm like, yeah, let me out of the doghouse.
That's right. So we all know how we try to duck and dodge those tough conversations. Bringing up tough conversations is an acquired skill.
It's a skill.
It's not something that comes easily for us, right? I remember George telling me, hey, I've been trying to figure out how to bring things up to you, but I've approached it so many different ways. I try to bring it up seriously, funny, lighthearted. I even tried to tap dance and bring it up, but it just never goes really well.
And I'm going to tell you why I could not bring stuff up to her. Have you guys ever heard of the clap back? Don't you ever talk to me that way. That's how my wife used to talk to me when I would bring up tough conversation. I'd say, sweetie, I don't know how to talk to you because you clap back. She's supposed to be applauding me, right? But she was clapping back at me.
That is so true. But why? Why do I not want to have these tough conversations? I just didn't want to hear it, okay? Or I just couldn't hear it. Maybe I couldn't bear to hear what he had to say, so I was trying to duck and dodge those tough conversations. But it takes both people in the relationship to participate when it's time to tackle tough conversations. It's the person who needs to bring up something, but it's also the person who needs to hear something. So what makes tough conversations tough? What makes these conversations so tough is because it sparks tension between us, right? It brings tension in our relationship, and who wants to have tense moments? We just want to have fun. I like to call these topics that spark tension, I like to call them hot topics, right? Because hot topics mean I might get burned, I might get clapped back, So we try to avoid hot topics. So what are some hot topics that couples might have to deal with in their marriage and their relationships? You guys yell out. I like a lot of
not
feedback.
Things that you personally
Not
deal
you,
with.
but couples.
Talk about what your neighbor deals with.
Money, finances is huge. We got a funny story about finances coming up.
Kids. They said kids.
Kids. Anything else? Extended family, like in-laws. You guys don't want to say this one, but sex. Come on. Nobody wants to say.
You can't say that from the pool.
Okay, intimacy? I don't know.
Okay, there it is.
So when it comes to tough conversations, this is what we tell couples. You can't avoid it. Don't avoid them. So we always say, nip it in the bud. Do not let it grow and get out of control. Every couple experiences conflict and disagreements from time to time. None of us want to face difficult situations with our spouse, but it is a part of life. It's not going anywhere. You can tiptoe around that elephant all you want to. You're going to keep bumping into it. So you just need to go through it and go ahead and get it resolved.
Yeah, but sometimes we just try to avoid those conversations, right? For a number of reasons. Some of those reasons are maybe we don't know how to bring the topic up, or maybe we don't know what to say, or maybe it's we just want to keep the peace. Any peacekeepers in here? Yes. You're just like, man, I just want to keep our home just happy. And I learned this in a men's group a long time ago. When you don't bring up the things that need to be brought up, I can become a passive husband or a passive dad. That just means what I'm doing is I'm just trying to keep the peace so much that I'm really not engaged. Or what about people who fear, like if I bring this conversation up, oh, I know it's going to be World War III. Anybody out there? Don't raise your hand. Just wink at me. Just wink at me. But what we do know is this, is that when we neglect things, some things will break down. If we neglect certain things, it will just break down. I learned this a long time ago, that maintenance is always easier than a breakdown. Now, maintenance is always easier than a breakdown. What do I mean by that? How many of you drive cars with those lights that come on every now and then? Like the engine light or the oil light or the gas light. Yeah. And how many of you know that you are supposed to take notice of what those lights are and do something about it? Right? When the engine light comes on or the oil light comes on, you're supposed to do what? Probably check the oil, go in and get it serviced. But there are some people. My friend had a daughter that his daughter would never look at when the check engine light come on and let him know, or the oil change. And so one day she's driving down the highway after months of this indication coming on. You need to address something. You need to address something. The engine blew up in the car.
You don't have to, I know you're talking about me.
I said a friend, babe. I said a friend. I wasn't trying to throw her under the bus.
He's trying to protect me right now.
I said, babe, when those lights come on, it means we have to do something. Or how many of you have been working at your computer and you saw the battery indicator say low battery and you just kept working and you lost all of your work because the battery went totally dead? That's an indication that something has to happen. Well, sometimes in our marriage and in our conversations with each other, there's certain indicators that we've got to listen to or focus on. Some of that is maybe the intimacy has gone down. Maybe it's just a bunch of things where it's the communication is not as good. Whatever that indication is, trust me that there are many times where maintenance, if you deal with it over time, it will help you not to break down.
Yes. So avoiding tough conversations with your spouse actually makes things worse, and it makes it even harder to overcome those things. And it just mounts up and builds up, and then it just causes like distance and disconnection because you know there's something that you need to talk about. You can feel the tension, so you're not avoiding the tension. You're just pretending that you're avoiding the tension, right? So we want to talk about 3 reasons why it is critical to nip it in the bud, okay? So we want to nip it in the bud because so you don't make up stories in your head. That's your first blank. Nip it in the bud so that you don't make up stories in your head. Listen, we got some creative people in here. I'm very creative. If you're creative, just raise your hand. Like, what happens with the creative person, they will create their own narrative. They will draw their own conclusions. and and it makes rational sense to them based off what they have, whatever story they've created, and then they start to react and respond to their spouse based off what they have already decided is the issue, and most likely it's not accurate. Most likely is our creativity that has caused us to create a bigger narrative that's usually distorted, filtered through a lot of our own baggage or own experiences or how we would respond. Listen, we have to invite our spouse to fill in their point of view and their perspective. That is crucial in how we tackle tough conversations. Don't wait, nip it in the bud.
So I'm going to tell you guys a little story. Maybe I've told you this before, maybe I haven't. But my wife, when we were first married, she wasn't touchy-feely. And my love language is, guys, what's my love language? Physical touch. Right? And when we used to watch movies together, she would sit way across the other side of the room where I would have to make a collect call. You guys remember collect calls?
That was before smartphones.
And what I was thinking, what I was receiving from that, because she didn't grow up in a touchy-feely home, and I would have to invite her over to my side of the couch and let her rub my balding head then, because I had hair, or let her rub my big, broad shoulders. Anyway, so, but I had to invite her over. Mm-hmm. Hey, do you want to come and watch the movie with me? And most of the time she would say, no, I'm good. I would say, no, for the sake of my marriage, come on over. Come on over to my place. Yeah. Anyway, but what was in my head was this. I hadn't spoken to her about this, but what was in my head for probably the first 6 months to a year of our marriage was, she does not find me attractive. But when I had that tough conversation with her, and it wasn't a mean conversation or a vindictive conversation, I just brought it up. Babe, do you find me attractive? She was like, are you kidding me? You look like Denzel, right? And I said, babe, but you never touched me. And then she explained to me her perspective of what was really going on. You see, in my mind, I was thinking, oh my God, our relational intimacy has gone away, or you know what, she doesn't find me attractive, or you know what, is it gonna be like this for the rest of our marriage? When only thing I had to do was to bring it up so that we can come together and we can talk. Here's another point. We don't allow emotions to get blown out of proportion. Emotions. How many of you have been an emotional person at least one time in your life?
Oh, I am so I have to raise my hand.
You need to raise both your hands.
My foot too.
We don't let or allow emotions to get blown out of proportion. Why? It's because there's certain things about us. We are emotional beings, and hurt or a disagreement. By the way, you know your spouse will probably let you down at one point in your life, right? That's normal. Yeah. Or there might be some disagreement where you're not going to agree. You have to talk, right? But those things, if we leave hurt and disagreement unchecked, it would just fester. It's almost like a sore that if it gets out of hand, it just festers, or a teapot. How many of you like tea? Anybody? Any tea drinkers?
Tea. I'm a tea drinker.
My wife, she has this nice tea, and she bought this nice little tea kettle, and it's an iron tea kettle or something like that.
Yeah, just go ahead.
Okay. And it looks so nice, but when it's ready and boiling over, it's so mean. I mean, it's like... But can't that become us when we get our emotions in it? Sometimes we don't think rationally, we just blow up, or we just let things out of proportion. And so we like to say with this point is we have to watch what you are saying and doing before you regret those things. How many have ever stuck your foot in your mouth? Now spouses, don't say they have, right? Like, I have stuck my foot in my mouth quite a few times.
Yes.
Right? I'm just going to tell on myself.
Yes.
Like, I was so young and dumb and cocky when I was first married. This was like, we was 23.
Uh-oh, what you getting ready to tell?
I don't know, babe. I would never throw you under the bus.
Okay.
I'm going to throw myself under the bus.
Okay.
But I told my wife one time, I was looking at Holly Berry on TV.
I cannot believe
And I just said, you know what? She is the epitome of a true black queen.
You know that didn't go over well. He put his foot in his mouth.
And I just had to realize that I was married now, and I couldn't look at other women like, okay, she's the epitome of a true black queen, because this is the epitome of a true black queen.
He learned.
Oh, come on now.
He learned.
All right, I learned. So, but Tantra was a little upset.
A little.
Just a little. Just a little. So we got to watch the things that we say because we might regret it or do, like the time that my wife, lovely wife, I know you love this green tonight. Come on, ladies, you love the green? Okay, she's beautiful.
Thank you.
But there's some times where we might do some things that we regret when we get emotional, like the time that I probably said something crazy again, and my wife, Tandra, lovely miss over here, threw a remote control across the room and hit me.
Yes,
No, she didn't hit me.
I didn't hit him, but I was trying to. I'm just not good at throwing.
Now, for all you newly marrieds, this is what you don't do. We're not telling you to do this. We're telling you that that was wrong. She was emotional about something. She should have never thrown that remote across the room.
Yeah. You know, that's why we're up here teaching you guys, see?
We need to go to Celebrate Recovery tomorrow night, okay?
Yes. Oh, my God, that's them. So, thirdly, in the reason why we have to nip it in the bud is that we don't let situations drag out longer. We lose valuable time in our relationship. The sooner you deal with it, the quicker you can get back to love. Connection is the goal. Right? Connection is the goal. That's why we're married, or that's why we want to get married, right? George used to ask, he used to say, because I'm a master at the doghouse. I'm sorry, I have to admit it. I can really do the silent treatment, and I can do it for a very, very long time. I've gotten better.
You don't do that like that.
I've grown. But he used to say, come on, can I get out of the doghouse sooner? Like, does it really have to take? You know we're married. We're going to forgive each other. We're going to make up. Why can't I just
say, like, Christ told you to forgive me?
You get in trouble when you go there. No. But he was like, stop wasting precious time. We're going to make up. Let's start getting together, right? So these are the 3 reasons that it's critical to nip it in the bud as soon as possible. Don't let it fester and escalate.
Yeah, here's another great point. You must find the right words to say, right? Find the right words to say. You've heard of this saying, sticks and stones may break my bones. How many of you believe, but words may never hurt me, or words don't hurt me? Right. What does it say? Yeah. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will
never hurt me.
Yeah, you guys get it. How many of you know words hurt?
Yeah. Yes,
words are powerful, right? Words can give life. It can also bring death. It can build up. It can also tear down. Yeah. Here's what the Word of God says. It says in Psalm 19, it says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." This is a powerful scripture when it talks about finding the right words to say, because he's talking about let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart. Now, he's talking about before God, but how many of you know God is everywhere, including your house, including your communication rooms or lack thereof, right? And so when we want to blow up or get emotional, or we want to give the silent treatment, or we want to say the wrong things, we got to say this prayer, or we got to read this scripture, and sometimes we got to read it and just get it up in front of us and say, Lord, tonight, I know I might be angry, I know I might be upset. Let me choose the right words. Let the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be pleasing to you, because if we can please God with what we're saying, I'm sure I can please Tandra with how I'm going to say what I am going to say, right?
That's awesome. That's powerful. I love that.
Is that awesome?
I hope you guys got that. That's Psalms 19:14. So here are some doable, time-tested, proven techniques that we're going to talk about that's going to help you find the right words to tackle tough conversations, okay? These are doable. Everybody can do these.
Everybody can do it.
All right? First, you want to start off positively, all right? What's going right? What do you love about what they have done? What has worked? What are their strengths? What do you see? What's going right? All right, you want to affirm them. That is a great idea. Let's add about this or think about this, right? So that's all positive. You have to balance out the negative. You have to, because psychologically, for every negative word that you say, it takes 5 positive words to balance that out so that person doesn't walk away with a negative feeling from the conversation. So positivity is a must if you want to tackle tough conversations. I always recommend to write out what you want to say. Write your thoughts out first. That'll keep you from being like that tea kettle. If you take a moment, write out what you want to say. It gives you a moment to slow down, slow your emotions down, and think about it, and put it in a way that is positive. All right? Next, you have to calm down. All right? So calming down, you have to wait for the emotions to level off. That's what we were talking about with George when he talked about the tea kettle. So here's what Proverbs says about this. There is one whose rash words are like a sword thrust, but the tongue of the wise brings healing. Okay? So if we want to bring healing and not cut somebody with our words, then we need to pause and we need to calm down. And then lastly, on how to start off positively, use I statements, not you statements. You statement is like pointing the finger. You never do this, you never do that. Look at you, right? That's going to put somebody on defensive. But I statements say, here's my experience, or here's how I'm understanding, or here's what I need. So that's number one in these doable techniques to tackle tough conversations, is to start off positively.
Yeah, that's great. Here's another one. Number 2 is take out negatively charged words. Take out negatively charged words. Now, let me help all my men. Where are my men at tonight? Grunt or something. All right, I just want to make sure you're here, all right? Now, listen, men.
I'm sorry, go. Keep going.
She's messing with my time. Keep it. Okay, all right. Men, we can't always say what we're thinking.
Ooh, you need to say that again.
We can't always articulate what we are thinking, right? If it comes to your mind, you don't always have to say it. Because sometimes we have to, like Tandra was saying, write things out. Sometimes we just have to say it in our minds and say, wow, that's going to cause a reaction. Mm-hmm. That's going to cause, the point of communication is to be heard, not just to say it. Because sometimes we just want to get it off our chest, right? We just want to I just want to say it and just get back to what we were doing, right?
That's right.
But that's not always the best, is it, babe?
No, it's not.
Here's what Ephesians says about that. It says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful. I needed this scripture. Only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So what we try to do in our home is we try to speak the truth in love. We already went over that, right? Speaking the truth in love, that's trying to honor, that's trying to lift and encourage your spouse. And we also try to stay away from hot topic buttons or push each other's buttons. Now, how many of you really know the buttons to push to get your spouse really upset?
Yeah. Yep.
Only 3 of you.
No, we know. We know.
We know. You know the words to say, right? It could be a topic. It could be a tone. It could be the way you say it. For my wife, it was those utensils that she would just kind of slam around in the pots. Another one is don't be critical. That means don't put your spouse's character or assassinate your spouse's character, right?
Yes. And the third one is to collaborate instead of accuse. Here's what Philippians says. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interest, but also to the interest of others. This is powerful because this is countercultural here when it says don't look to your own self but to the needs of others, because our culture says no, do you, it's all about you, have it your way, what you want, right? But this is how you tackle tough conversations, with this humility. You have to ask questions. Don't make indictments. Be curious. Try to seek understanding. What is their perspective? Why is it their point of view? Why is it their perspective? Your spouse is not against you. They are your teammates. So no finger pointing, no blaming. It's if she has a problem, no, we have a problem. If he has a problem, we have a problem, right? So we are in this together, and we have to put our heads together and collaborate so that we can address the issues we need to address. In order to do that, you have to give up the need to be right. Give up the need to be right.
I just heard some groaning pains in here.
That hurts. I know it hurts.
How many that was painful for you to hear that? Give up the need to be right. Now, don't leave our church or anything like that, okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was letting that linger. Yes. Give up the need to be right. George used to struggle with this. He's improved. He just felt like he was there to just fix or help poor Tandra. She needs so much help. She just doesn't know how to do anything, you know.
My nickname was Bob the Builder when we first got married. I was trying to fix everything.
Yes.
All right, here's another one. This is one of our last ones, is stick with one issue at a time. Mm-hmm. How many of you like to get bombarded by 5 issues in one conversation when you just feel like, man, that's another rabbit trail, or we're going down another thing that I've done. My wife used to say this to me. And by the way, we're being transparent with you to sort of teach you what not to do. We don't do these things anymore. We've learned to grow in grace, and we've learned to communicate a lot better. But man, sticking to one issue, my wife used to say to me, because I was like a machine gun. Boop, 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 boop.
I was like, am I doing anything right?
Am I doing anything right?
Anything.
And then that's when I realized, wow, I got to say 5 positive things to bring up this one tough conversation.
Yes.
What about keep the focus on the end result, meaning you want to be heard. You want to bring connection, unity, and closeness. That's why we stick with one issue at a time. And please do not keep rehearsing old arguments.
Yes.
You're talking about this current thing, and you say, but let me tell you what you did a month ago, and then let me tell you what you did 4 months ago, and then all of a sudden, that's what I call flooding.
Yeah.
Flooding is, you know what, I can't take it all in. I'm there, but I'm not really listening anymore, because if we're going to tackle a tough conversation, we probably shouldn't tackle 5 tough conversations at one time.
Yeah.
Here's the last one. Have the right response. Here's what the Word of God says about having the right response. In Proverbs 8:13, it says, if one gives an answer before he hears, it is his folly and shame, right? If one hears or gives an answer before he actually hears, like the hot temper, the one that's ready to get their point across, it says that it's his folly and shame. But we must instead fight to hear and to understand.
That's right. So not only are you're supposed to, nip it in the bud, and then next, choose the right words. Now we're talking about having the right response. In order to have the right response, you have to acknowledge and validate. This is how you create a safe space for each of you to be vulnerable and transparent with sensitive issues, with sensitive things. I just have to tell, we skipped this story in the beginning, but I remember, I know we're going to make up this time, but I remember I came home and George was literally, curled up on the floor in the fetal position. He doesn't want me to say that, but he was curled up on the floor, in the fetal position. And he was like, I quit my job today. I literally walked out to go to lunch, and I never went back. That's a tough conversation, okay? Especially with the...
I was getting verbally abused on my job. I was like, nah, I'm a man. You're not going to talk to me that way.
Yes, he has his reasons. But also financially, I was like, you did what? Are you kidding me? I just wanted to just lose it, really. And I know how to lose it. I just wanted to go off on him. But I just felt like God was like, that's not the right response. Validate and acknowledge he's not the type of man that would really do that. So you need to hear him out. Like, what is going on? And when you need to have the right response, you can't be about yourself at that moment. You can't take it personal. You can't be defensive, right? You have to have self-control. If you need to pray for the right response, or if you need to pray before you even say anything, then that's what you need to do. But you need to acknowledge. I love when George has to bring a tough conversation to me. He says, hey, I need to talk to you about something, and this is going to be a tough conversation. This may be a tough conversation. What that allows for me to do is for me to, I say, put my big girl pants on and sit there and be a safe place for him to have this tough conversation, because we're teammates and I want to hear what he has to say. So having the right response is acknowledging and validating. An acknowledgement doesn't mean that you agree, right? It doesn't mean, oh, just because I've acknowledged and validated, now I got to do what he said or she said. No, it's just saying, okay, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Here's a quote that says, the best way to persuade someone is with your ears by listening to them. So that's very important in having the right response.
You're going to do the activity?
I thought you was going to close. Oh, you want me to go ahead because I talked too much? Okay, sorry. Okay, so what we want to do now.
We're going to have a tough conversation when we get home.
Well, I'm going to put my big girl pants on right now. All right, so now what we want to do with you guys is for you to practice tackling tough conversations. And no, we're not going to deal with real issues in here today, okay? Because this is Love Fest right here. We're having fun. We're not trying to bring up the real issues, but I do want to get you to practice how you can start to create a safe space for each other. So on your tables, there's some papers turned down, face down. If you will grab your couple's activity, you're gonna practice creating a safe space for honest conversations in your relationship. So at the top of the couple's activity, it's just 3 little questions. I want you to kind of ponder and really jot down some answers individually. Okay, so the top part is for you to do individually. Jot down some things, answer those questions, and then after you jot down some things, you're gonna turn towards each other, and if you look at the bottom of that sheet, it says sample responses. All right, so we are slowing the conversations way down so that you can, remember I said, tackling tough conversations is an acquired skill. So we're doing skill building right now. All right, so at the bottom, here are some validating and acknowledging responses. So when you turn towards each other, as your spouse or a significant other is talking and sharing what they put for their answers, you have to choose one of these validating and acknowledging responses, okay? Or more of them, right? So I'm just trying to help you out, develop this skill, all right? Everybody got it? Any questions? Anybody feel lost with the activity? Okay, so we're gonna give you, I'm gonna check back in about, we'll give you like 7 minutes for the top piece, and then I want you to start turning towards each other and talking through those, okay? All right. Well, I love that people are still talking and they're still connecting and acquiring their skill of acknowledging and having the right response and validating. So, all right, so this wraps up our portion of the couples activity, but know that this is not the end. You can continue to work on this activity. You know, don't let it end here. Take those sheets home. Continue to utilize them. One couple, the guy was, he liked having the sheet, and he was like, when he was having a conversation with his wife, he'd be like, hold on 1 second. Let me go get my sheet. Okay? So it's slowing it down and teaching yourself a different response than maybe you grew up with. But I wanted to check in with you guys and say, how was that for you? How was it sharing, and how was it listening and having the right response? It was what? Okay. Okay, good.
They're clapping for you. She wants some feedback.
I like feedback. I'm a therapist. I want feedback. So was it hard? Was it easy?
It was hard.
It's
hard.
hard. Yeah, it's challenging.
What I was amazed at
Yeah.
was that a lot of people were having fun. I thought it was
Yeah.
going to be a little tense moments.
No, I set
But
it
they
up
were
with-
laughing and joking. I said,
Yes.
"Are you doing the assignment?" They were like, "Yeah, we're doing this."
Okay, good. So some people have fun, but it is hard if you're not used to responding that way, or you didn't grow up observing people responding that way, or you haven't been responding that way in your years of being married. It takes some intentionality to do that. So yeah, it can be hard to acquire a new way to respond. Anybody else? Don't be quiet. Give me one more. Come on.
I see a guy just smiling right there.
Okay, is a guy smiling right here? Yes. Oh, yes. It's nice having the structure to sit down and slow it down so that we can intentionally take each one of these steps to talk through something. That's great.
Hey, you guys, want me to tell you what's fun when we do this with NFL football players?
Yeah.
And because they don't know filling words, right, to say how they feel or whatnot. So Tandra has to give them like a color wheel. Like, are you purple right now? Are you yellow right now? And they're like, I don't know. And then they have to write out their stuff, and they come back and they say, you got more sheets.
Yes.
So this stuff actually works to slow it down, to
Yeah.
figure out what you want to say, to see how you want to say it, but then to make sure that you on the receiving end of listening,
Yeah.
that you're acknowledging that you're trying to understand and you're trying to hear, and not do the double dutch. You guys know what double dutch is? Double dutch is where you're just trying to jump in, right? You're just trying to listen and you're trying to understand. What's your heart? What's your fears? What's your thing that you need for me to hear?
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so now that you've worked together as a couple, now I want you to do a table time discussion, and they're going to put these discussion questions on the screen. So you guys just take some time, about 10 minutes, and kind of just talk through what you just heard and what you just experienced by doing the application piece of the activity.
So you guys do that. In 10 minutes, we'll come back with just a wrap up so we can get you guys home, all right?
All right, thank you.